Hey guys, I am Louis, and today I unveil the secrets of a night that turned an ordinary motel into a place of fear and mystery. Me and my wife spent all day driving on curvy roads and seeing amazing views. By sunset, Amelia and I were way out in the country, with no towns in sight. It got dark fast, and our car lights barely showed the empty road ahead. The only sounds were owls hooting and leaves blowing in the wind. The isolation was noticeable, and a sense of unease began to creep in. Just as we thought we'd have to sleep in the car, a flashing neon sign blew up. It was a motel, all alone in the wilderness. It looked beat up with old paint and dim lights, but we were so happy to see it. The motel seemed stuck in time, like something from a long time ago that somehow survived. But who was taking care of it in such a lonely place? And why was it so deserted? When we arrived at the front desk, a tired old man emerged from the shadows with a scraggly beard and sharp eyes that seemed to hold mysteries. He barely looked at us and gave us our room key. Then he smiled in a weird way that made me feel scared. He seemed creepy and added to the strange feeling of the motel. But was he just a normal worker, or was there something more to him? Was he the one keeping this place running? In our room, I found a hidden box behind a picture. The picture hid a space where the box was. Inside the box was a letter with crazy writing we couldn't understand. Seeing those strange symbols freaked me out even more. Who put the box there and why? Was it a previous guest, or was it something more sinister? Later that night, I saw a weird shadow outside our window. I could barely see it in the moonlight, but it looked like someone watching us. Scared, Amelia and I went out into the corridor, but it was completely empty. We called out to see if anyone knew about the shadow, but only heard our voices echo back. Was it the old man from the desk, or someone else entirely? This place was seriously giving me the creeps. The creepy feeling got worse. We went to the front desk, but nobody was there. We tried to call someone for help, but the motel phones were dead and our own phones wouldn't work. We were totally cut off, like nobody in the world even knew we were there. It was weird. Why weren't the phones working? Was it just bad luck, or was something strange going on? Was this place even real, or were we trapped in some sort of nightmare? We thought about leaving, but a crazy storm suddenly blew in, so strong that we couldn't drive anywhere. We had a terrible night in our room, with every creak and groan making us jump. We couldn't stop thinking about that weird shadow outside our window. Why did it keep coming back? What did it want? Was it trying to communicate with us, or was it just toying with us? In the morning, we finally found the grumpy manager and told him everything. He didn't even believe us. He said the secret spot behind the picture wasn't a secret at all, just an old chimney. That's where we found the box, remember? But his relaxed way of explaining it freaked us out even more. Why didn't he care about our story? Did he know something he wasn't saying? Was he part of this, or was he just another pawn in this terrifying game? By the time the sun peeked over the horizon, casting long shadows, Amelia and I were packed and ready to get out of there. The motel, which seemed so scary just a few hours ago, now looked quiet and unconcerned in the morning light. We took one last look at the beat-up building, a reminder of the crazy night we had. Pulling out of the dusty driveway, the motel shrank in the rearview mirror, but even though we were leaving, we knew we were taking something with us. The memory of that terrifying night. The creepy shadow, the hidden box, the weird letter, the silence everywhere. All these things were stuck in our minds, a scary movie playing over and over. Who was the shadow? Why were they watching us? And what did that letter mean? We had no answers, just a creepy feeling that wouldn't go away. As we drove away, we couldn't help but wonder, would we ever find out the truth? Or would the memory of that night haunt us forever? My name is Kevin. I've been a long-haul truck driver for about a decade. The open road is my second home, and the sound of the engine is my constant friend. However, life on the road is not without its rules. I had to pull over one night due to safety requirements requiring rest periods. Driving along the deserted highway, I noticed the brightness of a glowing sign. It was a motel, alone in a huge area. The sign flashed up randomly, creating a terrifying shine on the cracked roads in the parking lot. It wasn't much to look at, a 2-story building with faded paint. The motel was too old. However, it was the only option available, and I was too tired to be choosy. The dirt crunched under my truck's tires as I pulled into the parking area. The place was empty. The only sounds were an owl's far scream. The reception area was a tiny room adjacent to the main building. A single lamp hung from the ceiling, creating lengthy shadows on the worn wallpaper. I took a deep breath and walked towards the reception to check in. When I got the key, I went to the room. It was at the end of a long corridor. The room was old, with furniture that had seen countless past tenants. But it was clean enough, and the bed, despite drooping somewhat in the middle, promised the comfort of sleep. I unloaded my stuff and settled in for the night. The room was quiet except for the distant noise of the highway and the odd blow of wind that rattled the window. I climbed into bed and closed my eyes, hoping to get a few hours of uninterrupted sleep. Just as I was about to fall asleep, a tap on the door shook me awake. My pulse was racing in my chest as I cautiously approached the door. Looking through the peephole, I noticed a fellow passenger standing outside. He appeared confused, his clothes rumpled, and his face marked with tiredness. He said that his car had broken down and he needed assistance. His voice shook. I was suspicious, as the bizarre occurrences of the night were still fresh in my mind. But I couldn't turn him away. I assured him I'd help him in the morning when the light was up and the world seemed less scary. He thanked me greatly, relief spreading across his face. He turned to depart and vanished into the darkness of the passage. I had just gotten back into bed when I heard a terrible sound, the unmistakable scratch of metal against wood. I froze, my blood turning to ice as I recognized what was going on. A person was attacking my door with a knife, the metallic thuds ringing eerily in the still night. My mind was whirling as I struggled to figure out what to do. The other traveler, who had been standing nearby, managed to flee, but the man was unstoppable. His attention was now solely on my door, and his attacks became stronger with each passing second. The door shivered in response to the attack, the old wood creaking in resistance. I grabbed my phone, my fingers shaking as I dialed the police number. The call rang once or twice before a voice answered. I rapidly explained the problem, my words rushing out. The operator's calm voice contrasted sharply with my fear. I reported a possible assault and gave them the address of the motel. The operator promised me that aid was on its way, but the minutes felt like hours while I waited, with the continuous attack on the door serving as a chilling reminder of the danger I was in. The sound of sirens in the distance was the nicest thing I'd ever heard. They became louder, drowning out the scary thuds on the door. The man outside paused, the unexpected silence worse than the noise. The police had come barely in time. They caught the man as his knife clattered to the ground. As they brought him away, they explained that he was a wanted criminal who had committed a series of similar attacks. The fellow traveler, who had managed to hide nearby during the entire incident, came cautiously from his hiding position. He was fine, and he thanked me for my assistance, his thankfulness clear in his eyes. But all I felt was relief that the nightmare had been over and that we were safe. As dawn came, I collected my belongings and left the motel. The morning sun appeared harsh, producing lengthy shadows that reminded me of the previous night's incidents. The motel, now washed in the warm morning light, appeared commonplace, almost pleasant. But I knew better. The events of the night were still fresh in my mind, and the dread I had experienced served as a stark reminder of the fragility of life. I got into my pickup, the familiar sound of the engine providing comfort. As I drove onto the highway, the motel vanished from my rearview mirror, becoming just another point in the huge landscape. Every mystery began with a small clue. For me, it was a scary motel in the Twilight Sky. Hey there, I am Nancy, a reporter known for breaking challenging news. I pulled into this old motel in the middle of nowhere. As the sun set, the sky overhead became orange and purple. The hotel was the lone building for miles, and it appeared mysterious behind the tremendous yellow sign. The light created strange shadows across the vacant parking lot. I got out of my car, grabbed my bag, and walked towards the motel door. My shoes crunched on the sandy walk, the only sound in the entire area. It seemed really terrifying, like someone was whispering warnings into my ear. But I attempted to ignore it, telling myself that was because I was in such a lonely situation. Little did I realize that my short weekend escape was going to develop into a terrifying journey that would require all of my bravery and intelligence. Inside the motel, everything was absolutely silent. The whispers I thought I heard outside suddenly sounded stronger, like hidden talks echoing down the silent corridors. The manager, who normally appeared quickly, looked at me with a strange expression that gave me goosebumps. He acted strangely, as if he were hiding something. This got me quite suspicious, so I decided to explore the remainder of the motel. In a dusty corner of the corridor, I discovered a collection of outdated newspapers. One headline stood out to me: an incident about a missing individual who was last seen at this motel. My entire body was thrilled with chills, but I grabbed the newspaper cutting and slipped it into my pocket. It might have been a clue to help me uncover the dark secrets this creepy motel was hiding. The more time I spent there, the more I felt like something was seriously messed up. The manager's creepy act, the whispers, that newspaper story. It all added up to some dark secret the motel was hiding. One night, my gut told me to check out the basement. What I found there made my blood run cold. It was like a jail down there, proof that the manager was even worse than I thought. He had been kidnapping people and keeping them in the basement. Totally freaked out, I raced back to my room, my brain spinning. As I tried to piece everything together, a tiny sparkle caught my eye in the corner. I took a closer look and saw a hidden camera pointed right at my bed. I felt sick as I realized the awful truth. The manager had been watching me all along. Now it was clear I wasn't just a guest anymore. I was in danger, but I wasn't going down without a fight. I had to get out of there, and fast. Suddenly, the door creaked open. My heart jumped into my throat as I saw the manager in the doorway. His face was scary and his plan was obvious. He lunged at me, but I dodged him thanks to a rush of adrenaline. I fought with him, and he tried to grab me, pushing me back with all my might. In the mess, I saw a hidden door behind a loose panel, a secret passage leading to the basement. It was risky, but it was my only shot. With one last hit, I broke free from the manager's grip and sprinted towards the secret door. I heard him yell after me, his angry words bouncing off the walls of the tiny hallway. But I couldn't stop, not even for a second. I just had to run deeper and deeper into the dark, creepy basement. Down in the basement, it was like a maze, hallways everywhere, barely any light. The motel must have been way bigger underground than it looked above ground. It was like a trap designed to confuse and capture anyone who got lost. But I couldn't worry about getting turned around. Not when the manager was probably right behind me. My heart was hammering in my chest as I raced through the twisty tunnels. Every creak and every shadow made me jump, but I kept going, dodging all the manager's tricks, Fake doors, dead ends, even hidden holes in the floor. It was like a scary game of tag, only I was it, and the tagger was a super creepy kidnapper. Then, in all the chaos of running for my life, I tripped over something awful. It was a collection of stuff the manager had taken from his victims, wallets, watches, even jewelry. He had displayed them all like prizes. Each piece told the sad story of someone who got caught there, a reminder of the dark secrets this place held. Seeing that stuff made me even more determined. I would not become another one of his trophies. I wouldn't be another victim. With a fresh burst of energy, I kept going, vowing to escape this horrible nightmare forever. After what felt like forever, a tiny light peeked out from the end of the tunnel. With one last burst of energy, I bolted towards it, bursting out of the creepy basement and into the cool night air. Freedom! It felt amazing. I didn't waste a second. I jumped in my car and peeled out of there, leaving the nightmare motel behind in a cloud of dust. Once I was far enough away to feel safe, I pulled over and dialed 911. My voice trembled as I told them about the manager and his awful plan. The police showed up at the motel super fast. I watched from a hidden spot as they swarmed the building, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. After a nerve-wracking wait, I saw them bring the manager out in shiny handcuffs. Seeing the creep arrested finally calmed me down a bit, but the biggest surprise was yet to come. The cops also rescued another person from the basement, a guy named Peter. When I met him at the police station, it hit me. Peter was the brother of the missing person from the newspaper clipping I found. My spine tingled, but mostly I was just glad we both got out alive. As I drove away from the town, the motel shrinking in my mirror, I couldn't help but shiver, thinking about everything that had happened. But I also felt proud. I had gotten away from the motel, exposed the manager's evil plan, and even helped save Peter. It was a terrifying adventure I would never forget, but at least it was one with a happy ending.